Hello and welcome to Charity's Treasures. Today's category is Missionary Messages. The April theme is Joseph Smith and Job, their stories. The influencer is Candace Owens, and the title is Correlations. Our subject is distinctions between Joseph Smith's story and Job's story. The question is, how strong is your patience and trust in the Lord? Okay, so this last month, the last 4 weeks, I have been unintentionally MIA as it pertains to covering missionary messages. And there are very many important reasons why I have not had any messages in this category for the last 4 weeks. And I will talk about these specifically in the next few episodes. The next 4 episodes, we will be talking about how the story of Job and Joseph Smith correlate so perfectly. And through this process, you will find out why I have been missing in action. In fact, so we're going to be talking about these stories. I have been studying these stories. In fact, after studying these 2 passages the last 4 weeks, especially Joseph Smith being in Liberty Jail, I feel like God put the story of Job in the Bible for Joseph. And because of that, we end up benefiting from that, right? If you like and listen to these podcasts of missionary messages that I do on a regular basis, you might study for the upcoming episodes the book of Job and Joseph as it pertains to him being in Liberty Jail before I discuss the topic in the coming weeks, because I have discovered this year how important these 2 accounts are. Job made it through the tests of the adversary because he continued to live and was blessed with twice as many treasures while he was on the earth as far as it pertains to earthly wealth and temporal treasures. I also believe he was blessed twice as much spiritually and maybe having twice as much power from God after he was tested. Okay, than before he was tested, right? Okay, so Joseph, on the other hand, did not make it through, right? Joseph died. After Liberty Jail, he ended up dying. He didn't live to see twice as much temporal and earthly treasures given to him while he was on the earth. This doesn't mean that Job and Joseph didn't receive the same amount of blessings. They both had different outcomes, but they both had great blessings and promises that were kept to them by God. Job wanted to die, didn't he? Joseph, he did not want to die. Joseph had a family, and Job didn't have a family. Job didn't have any more friends. He didn't have a home. No one in the community liked him. He was just like, what was there to live for, right? So he had no reason to live specifically. Joseph had plenty of reasons to live. He had children, he had a wife, he had a family. Joseph, though, did not get to live. Job got to live. I am fascinated, especially this past 3 months, by these 2 accounts. And I am extremely excited to talk about them and how they correlate and are relevant to our unique circumstances and lives. And especially this year as we read Come Follow Me and the Doctrine and Covenants and feel this current connection to Joseph Smith as he goes through these trials and tribulations. I want you to embrace this connection as we learn about Joseph. It might be a struggle going through this year as we embrace his life. Because maybe it's just like anytime we read a scripture or something, it seems like that's something we're going to go through, right? So maybe we might take upon ourselves the stories, the experiences, and the trials that Joseph went through as we engage in his life and his experiences. Look at this year as a testing and trusting period. And maybe you've already gone through some of these testing and trials, which I'm thinking that everyone who is engaged in Come Follow Me probably is. Hopefully, you don't die like Joseph. Hopefully, you live like Job. God is telling, right? He tells us what he wants us to know. He always tells us the things he wants us to know and the information he wants us to know. And often he tells us these things through parables or stories. I want you to think about this story of Job because I think it's one of the most amazing and important stories in all of Jesus' stories. I want you to think specifically about the distinctive conversation between God and Satan. I want you to think about the specific rules of their conversation and this story. I want you to think about the crazy situation of this story. As you think about this story, I want you to put yourself into the story because that's what Jesus wants us to do when we read his stories, right? That's why they are parables, because he wants us to put ourselves into the parables. But this story is unique. There was not an offset to this story. God didn't have an inset to this story. It was just a random story that had nothing to do with lineage or anyone else in the Bible or any pattern of the Bible, right? It's just like, whoop, dropped into the Bible. So it's not set up from any other story. It's just random. After saying all of this, I hope you engage in the story of Job. But there's also a warning. Don't expect life to go perfectly if you do. What you can expect is to grow in strength, courage, and trust in the Lord, and most of all, you will grow in patience. I challenge all of you to engage in the story of Job and the story of Joseph. Correlate them together in your life, focusing on Joseph's experiences in Liberty Jail. All of these experiences up until the point where he was in Liberty Jail led him to being able to go through the experiences of Liberty Jail. If you accept the Lord's challenge to put yourself in Job's and Joseph's situations, you will become more godlike. Your spirituality will increase and you will come to know the Lord in a way that you have never known him before. So I hope you accept this challenge, and I hope you listen to the next few episodes because I think that these are going to be really important in your life. As I have pondered these stories, I have learned so much, and I want to share them with you. And so I hope you tune in to the next few episodes, and I hope that you study Job and Joseph and include their stories into your life, no matter how hard that might be. Bye, everybody.